group, Arturo Spraycasso here. So, in today's little tutorial, we're going to be doing something that you guys don't see me doing a lot. And that is after I'm done with the painting. You know, there's times that I've told you guys that I like to continue working on them afterwards, right? And I've had some people say, well, how do you do that? So, you know, I was going to add a few more layers to this painting. And I thought, well, you know what? This would be a really good opportunity at this point to show you guys how I go on about to adding more layers. So the first thing I want to do, I love this. I love how colorful these leaves are. But one of the things about adding layers is that I'm going to add a layer where I darken some of these areas up here. Not all of them, but I'm going to darken it up and then start adding layers on top of that. Yep, I know. It can be scary because it's a painting that it's already done, but at the same time, I think it'll add a little more perception and depth to it. So, as you can see, we have highlights here, right? So I'm going to have the light coming off from left to right, or from right to left. And so I'm going to darken up some of these areas up here. Very light layer of black. See that? So that darkens this area up, leaves this area a little more lit up. Okay, I'm gonna do the same up here, just down here, I mean. Okay, can you guys see that? Yeah, it's pretty visible. Let me move that light. So, I mean, I can tell from here where I'm seeing at, it looks a little bit brighter on the camera, but I don't have the courage to darken it any more than that. I think that is perfect for what I'm looking for. In real life here where I see it, it looks a lot darker than it looks on video. So I'm going to go with my eye, guys. Trust me when I say this looks pretty dark in real life. All right, so I managed to darken up this whole area just by adding a light layer of black, right? And so you really get this area. That's very important. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, yeah, this looks good. Maybe a little, let me see if I have another one. I do have another one. Oh, I like this one better. Okay, I'm looking for the tip. See how I don't have a whole lot of paint accumulated as I do here. So when this happens, I usually get a nail and clean that out, because this whole area, it builds up upwards. And so when you're trying to create the funnel effect and create a line, sometimes you have to go way like vertically at a 90-degree angle. And there's what it looks like. Imagine my thumb. Paint accumulates here at the tip, and the paint has a hard time getting over that bump. So that's what I'm looking for. This one doesn't have a whole lot of paint in comparison with this one. So I'm going to use this one because the paint will flow a lot smoother. All right. Just going to try it up here. See, I don't have to tilt. I also didn't add a whole lot of paint. Oh, come on, man. All right. As soon as I put it down, there we go. Okay, perfect. I don't want it to be too thick. I'm going to be adding some additional branches. Look at that. All right, now I'm going to add another one, another branch right about here. Now I'm doing this with black. We'll go over it later and we'll add some color. We'll add the brown and the highlights. Yep. Oh, I like that. Maybe we'll add another little branch up here. And I don't know. Let's see. We'll add some additional branches here. They don't have to be too thick. Just enough to where you can see that there's some branches coming out. All right, as you guys can see, we went ahead and we added all the little branches there, and basically you guys saw us do that. It was just a funnel, right? What I'm gonna do next is I wanna add some highlights. So with our Spraycasso lime green, I love this color, I really truly do. I'm gonna spray off here in the trash can until the color comes out nice and bright. So it's always important, guys, to pre-shake your cans before you paint. Something I didn't do. Okay, I'm just gonna get some green. I'm gonna spray some green here. And now, using our handy dandy sea sponge, you guys know I love this stuff. So I try to use as less as possible because it's expensive, right? It's expensive to get it, and it's sometimes even hard to find. So I'm just gonna get a little piece of it, tap into some green. That's all I'm doing. I'm gonna practice before I get to do it. All right, now I'm gonna add a little bit of green in some of these areas just to kind of practice a little bit. Now what I'm doing here is I'm also figuring out where my highlights are gonna go. So obviously I've added some shadows. Now I gotta add my highlights. Let's do that. All right, so I'm just gonna tap on the water very lightly. Look at that. It's kind of nice, huh? That's the importance of adding highlights. That's a little too much. I'm just gonna, there we go. Oh, it took a lot. All right. I'm gonna add some down here. Now you notice you can really see them in the darker areas. All right, now we're gonna use some orange. And using our handy dandy sea sponge, and I already have one here. I'm gonna tap into it, tap, 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 tap. You know what, instead of a sea sponge, I think we'll use the sea sponge, but we'll use the sea sponge later. I think for now, I wanna focus on those tree branches that we have, those ones that were made in black. All right, so I'm gonna touch. All right, we're gonna use our soft tip tools. I'm gonna touch into some of that orange. And I'm just gonna very gently on this end. Now I am gonna mix it with the black underneath. It's gonna go up and down a few times. Look at that, it's starting to shape up. It was really nice looking highlights. And at the same time, by going up and down, it's giving us a nice little texture. Okay, I'm gonna mix this with a little bit of black. So orange and black will give us, well, I know I heard some of you say dark brown, others say darker orange. It's both are correct. Just gonna mix it up here, and that's what we want. I just want a darker shade of that orange that we put in. I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna add it on this side. And I'm gonna do this throughout. Just gonna add it here on the edges. All right, so as we can see, I went ahead and I added the colors on these additional branches just to blend it into the tree. Now, because we darkened some of these leaves in the background and some of these branches, these, the new ones, appear to be closer to us. So we're gonna take advantage of that, and I'm gonna try and create some new leaves around this area. So I'm gonna use some orange, handy dandy soft tip tool, and I'm just gonna create a few additional. Look at this. Notice how bright these are in comparison. And that's what we want. We want them to really stand out. Here, I'll do one in the darker area so you guys can see them. Now, I'm not gonna do all of them orange, but I do want you guys to be able to see them. They stand out as they're brighter, right? I'm gonna also add some red, some blues. And we're just gonna add that throughout our tree. So I gotta tell you guys, it's been a lot of fun be able to paint here with you. It's been a good minute. You know, we did it for quite a good time too. And so it's good to get back to painting, you know? I often joke and say it's how I keep my sanity. Sometimes it's also the cost of my insanity. Any artist will tell you this. So I know I'm not the only one. All right, just gonna keep adding layers. Now, right now I'm just adding the oranges, but like I said, I will add some red, some yellow, some blue, some greens. This is a very colorful abstract tree, and so I want to keep it that way. But at the same time, I want you guys to see it takes patience. It takes time. Create all these little leaves. You know, when we first started, we did it. If you guys haven't seen the tutorial on this one, on how we got to this point, go take a look at it. It's on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment. All right. If you have any suggestions or anything you guys want to see, that's the place to do it. That's the place to get a hold of me. That, or you can go on Facebook. All right, so let's take a quick look at how these tree leaves are starting to come out. See that? Looks pretty nice, huh? Very bright. I'm not making them very big. If I wanted to make them bigger, there's bigger brushes. You could always like, yeah, bam. Yeah. Well, I say that and they look the same as the others, but nah, you can really make them bigger. I might do that. You know what? I might do that. Make some bigger ones as they get closer to us. I'm going to add some blue. Now, I told you, very colorful tree. Tap, 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 tap. And look at that. Here, I'm going to put one on the darker areas. Now, see, this is what I love about this painting already. It is the multi-dimensions that you guys see here, right? Because you can see some tree leaves. If you zoom in, you can see them in the background, right? They're just faded in because they're deeper into the tree. Now you come over here and you start seeing the ones that are closer to us, the ones that are brighter because of the light hitting them. So, you know, a good painting, especially if you're going to compete. You know, I've had a lot of wonderful comments, people telling me like, oh, I could never compete with other mediums using spray paints. No, you can. You can. Yours truly did it for many years. I did. I enjoyed it. Very much did I enjoy it, especially after winning, right? They're like, you did that with what? Spray paints? Spray paints beat me, an oil master? Yeah. It's very rewarding. Now, of course, I'm not going to tell you can do it overnight, but it is a lot of fun, and you can most definitely compete using spray paints. Now, in this area, I'm making them smaller. Why? Well, there's less light, so I don't want to have just big leaves there either. And I'm also trying to touch some of those little blue ones that exist. Just a dot, just to give them highlights. Watch. You guys see that one right there? Just gonna add a little dot. Damn. Look at that. Right? Gives it that highlight and makes it look like it's highlighted. Alright. Alright, guys. So we added a few more smaller details, right? We went through, added a little bit more highlights on the tree, added some highlights here below, and that's what I wanted to show you how to do next. So you guys have seen me go from the very top of creating the effect, right? That there's darker leaves here in the background, fading into the back and then being brought by some highlighted tree leaves, some tree bark that we just newly added. I took some of that fluorescent and added a little bit off on the side here. I'll show you. I'll spray a little bit right here. Now, the thing about fluorescent, there we go. Okay. We got a little bit of it. It's usually very clear. So what I like to do, I tap very little of it and I just add it on the edges. And then I blend it in. And that'll give us some really nice highlights. Look at that. Now, it's important you blend it in. And I'm doing the effect so that it looks like it's a tree bark. Right? Alright. Just gonna add a little bit, maybe right here. Look at that. Look at that texture. Now, I'm going to try and blend. Now, we obviously have some pretty bright yellows here. So I'm just going to add very, very light touches into that yellow, which will give us like a light orange. And so it'll give us that transitional effect, right? So you have this bright yellow and then it gives you that 3D effect, right? Where this is the shadow and this is the highlighted area. Let me show you what that looks like. Look at that. Look at those colorful tree leaves. Now, you know, the thing I like about colors and making things this bright is the challenge. Yeah, there's a lot of challenge of it, right? If it was just one color, if it was just like, oh, we're just gonna add some green, and imagine all of this being green, and then I darken it with some black, and then just added some highlights with some, well, that's no problem, right? That's really easy. But trying to balance between the blues, the pinks, the oranges, the yellows, the greens, it can be a little challenging. So you'll see that I'll challenge myself quite often in my paintings. I'll make multicolored paintings, and that's mostly just for me, guys. That's only because I find the challenge in it, and the harder the better, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a time there where I played chess like a lot. I even competed, you know, in the state chess championship. So I love it. I love it. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that to practice, I would take away half my board at the very beginning. Be like, all right, you know, I'd lose half my pieces on purpose, just to challenge myself. I find that I find myself doing that with spray paint. I do. I find that there's times, kind of like now, the multicolor can be very challenging. I mean, look at this. I'm adding yellow to pink. That's just to give it the effect of highlights. Now, what I like to do, see, we have this light, it's coming in. I added some yellow here to add the highlights. Oh, maybe we'll add little touches of yellow here. You guys see that? All right, I'm just gonna add little touches right there to symbolize highlight. Remember, we have light coming in from here on down. Now, we do have some green here in the water, so I'm blending some of that yellow with the green that we have below. Now, to make this a little clearer, or a way that it blends better, I might add some clear coat, because clear coat with spray paint, you know, will liquefy the entire thing, and so it'll blend very nice. All right, let's take a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, it's taking shape. Now, if you guys want, I save these, you know, they come in the mail. It's junk. I do politics. Ugh. I'm just gonna add maybe just a little bit of white, just to give it the effect of a light beam. You see that? We'll add another one right about here. Look at that. Okay. Ooh, I like that right here. So that gives us a very bright light source, right? It's coming out from over here somewhere. I'm still gonna add a few more tree leaves on top of that white burst, that light burst, I mean, so that, here, I'm gonna add some white. I'm gonna add a little bit of white right here on the water, right where the light beams are. Look at that. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of clear coat. And like I said earlier, the beauty about clear coat is when it hits the paint, it starts to disperse and everything blends so perfectly together. I really enjoy it. All right, I'm just gonna add a little more white right about here. Perfect. And then I'm gonna go over, and now that we've really made that distinction of the light coming in here, I'm gonna add some more tree leaves there. I think I'm gonna add some oranges, kind of like what we had before. Oranges, yellows, a lot more yellow. That way it shows up better. Well, it shows up that there's highlights, right? Look at that. Right here. Now I want some of those leaves to go over the light source that we just added. It breaks it up. It makes it look stand out more. Then we'll add some white. All right, I'm just gonna add a little bit of orange up here, maybe here. Perfect. Look at that. I'll add a few right here. Yeah, what do you guys think? So it's all about layers. It's about, well, you can't just add crazy layers, right? You gotta, and I'm not the one to tell you, oh, you got to plan for it. No, I truly do believe paintings paint themselves. For instance, I had no idea this painting was going to come out this way. I mean, I had an idea, but this is not, it's not like I have a visual in my mind and says it has to look like that. No, I just knew it had to be colorful and complex. I wanted it to be complex. And so, you know, I had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, this is good enough. Everybody gets the gist. Everybody can start practicing doing their own stuff. And then we were going to use this painting for something else. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll kill two birds with one stone. I will continue to paint on it, add additional layers, something that I would do on one of my gallery style paints or paintings. And at the same time, I get to show the crew some of the techniques that I use, invented, created for the art of spray paint. And I think it helps all of us out in the long run. And so I thought I'd show you guys that even after a painting is done, you can still come back, and as long as you're using light layers. I'm not saying cover everything up and then start, yeah, you might be asking for trouble there, but if you keep it simple, I don't see why you couldn't come back to an older painting that you've done perhaps and add some additional layers. All right, crew, and there you have it. You know, we've added additional layers. So we took an intermediate level painting. We used some advanced techniques, right? Like the shadowing of the tree leaves in the background so that it sends them further back. So this gives you more dimension. We added some additional tree branches, right? So they stick out a little bit more, so it looks like that 3D effect. We added some highlights. just so that we can give the effect that this light that's coming out from here is coming in. It's hitting certain areas of our painting, the water, the tree. You know, we added some, as you can tell, some lighter colored leaves around this area. And that's just to give it the effect, guys, that the tree leaves here are being lightened by the light that is coming from behind. We added some additional highlights in the plant life here. I kept these kind of in the dark back here. I didn't make them as colorful as this ones. You can add a little bit of splashes, kind of like what I did here on the bottom, throughout, just to balance it out. I might still go back and add some finishing touches. You know, as an artist, many of you guys will understand this. We tend to be our own worst critics, and seldom do we forget that we need to also be our biggest fans. So I say this because, you know, you tend to criticize yourself a little bit more. Like, this is a good painting. I really like the colors in this painting, but I want to add a little bit more. So I might go back, put this aside for a little bit, and then come back to it later and just add some additional highlights. And that's okay too, guys. Learn to put things down and then come back later. All right, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. It was a lot of fun doing it with you guys. Until next time, crew, remember, keep those cans shaking. Later, guys.